It is good. It's your boy Sam back here with another video. And in this video today, guys, we're going to be going over our top rubies in NBA 2K24 MyTEAM on a tier list. Now, I didn't include all the rubies. I feel like a lot of the rubies are a little bit just outdated or nobody really has in their lineup. And so if I missed out on anybody, I apologize. But I tried to get most of the, usable rubies here on this tier list. Now, we've got a little less than 40 here, maybe about 35. So we should be able to get there through this list in 10 or 15 minutes. We're gonna start off with Herb Jones. I actually like Herb Jones. Now, release-wise, not the best, but he does have, a lot of defense. Great lateral quickness, 6'7" at the 2, gonna get you a lot of stops. Wish his speed was a little bit higher. I would give him a speed shoe, if you actually are gonna use him for quite some time. But as far as just a good 3-and-D option, I do like Herb Jones. Mitchell Robinson up next. Let me ask you this. Does it get much better than Mitchell Robinson? I don't know. He was the first guy I targeted on the No Money Spent Squad series because I'm like, you know what? This card is absolutely elite. And I feel like the New Year's resolution for No Money Spent players or budget ballers is a really good set. Mitchell Robinson can knock down shots, has a good release, plays some defense, in my opinion. S tier. Bones Hyland up next. I mean, when we're looking at these rubies, I think he's below average. He just doesn't play any defense, and that's my whole thing with him. He's undersized, doesn't play any defense. How am I supposed to hype up a card like Bones Hyland? I just can't. Eamon Thompson up next, has decent height. I just don't love the card. I do think he's better than Bones Hyland, but I mean, he can't play point guard. And I just think when it comes down to some of your top cards, Eamon Thompson is not a card I'm really looking forward to. Caleb Martin, kind of in that same boat. He's not horrible. The problem with Caleb Martin is he's only 6'5". 6'5" at the 3. I know he plays decent defense. Card's just not great. Josh Green, another card I'm just not super excited about. He plays defense. His 3-ball actually is good. I'm just not the biggest Josh Green fan because of his release. I feel like if his release was, let's say, to the level of, I don't know, KCP, right? Would really hype the card up. But his release, just not great in my team. KCP up next. I'm going to go S tier. You guys can say I'm gassing him, and maybe I am gassing him too much for this era of my team. But I do really like KCP. He's one of the biggest what-if stories from this entire year. What if KCP would have got evoed to a diamond? I think we'd be looking at just a different approach to the card. Kevon Looney, I mean, is he the worst player on this list? He might be. I'm going to put him at F tier. What does the card do for you? Slow release, only 6'9", not really even going to compete on the interior. Hate to break it to you guys, he's not the worst card on this list, though, because we've got Talen Horton-Tucker, who is the worst card on this list. Talen Horton-Tucker doesn't play any defense. He's undersized. His release is not great. What is he doing on the court? Absolutely nothing. That's your answer. Alex Caruso up next. I think with Caruso, I'm going to put him, it's tough. Do I like him more? Do I like Herb Jones more? I want to put them both at maybe A tier. I really do like them both. They're different, right? But I do really like them both. I feel like Herb Jones might just give us a little bit more because he's taller. I'm going to go Herb Jones A tier, Caruso B tier. I like where that stands. Tobias Harris up next. C tier, don't you think? I mean, I just don't think he gives you enough on that defensive end of the court to put him any higher. And it's not I hate Tobias Harris. He's just very mediocre, very mid. Not to say he's unusable, but I just don't necessarily get excited about the card. Andre Drummond, he is better than Kevon Looney. Has decent speed, gonna compete on the interior. And you guys have seen what Drummond has done in real life when he's got some good run, man. One of the best rebounders in the league. But the problem is, he can't shoot the ball. I can't put him any higher than C tier. Bob Pettit, I think I gotta go B tier with Bob Pettit. I just don't think I can, though. I mean, he can shoot the ball, but on the flip side of things, Andre Drummond is going to be way better defensively. So it's just a matter of what do you prefer with Andre Drummond, with Bob Pettit. I think this is what I got to do. Drummond at C tier, Bob Pettit at C tier as well. Brandon Miller up next. He's S tier. And if I have to move KCP down to A tier, I will, and move Herb Jones and Caruso to B tier. But Brandon Miller is better than KCP. He's taller. I like his release. I feel like defensively gives you a little bit more, as well as his dribble style is great. There's no slander in Brandon Miller when it comes down to some of your best rubies in my team. Brandon Roy up next. I think I gotta go C tier. I know it was the deal of the day the other day, and I actually really like Brandon Roy's release. But if you look at the stats and badges of the Ruby Brandon Roy, I'm gonna say it like this. I just don't think you guys will be too impressed. Chris Morris up next. I think I gotta go B tier with Chris Morris. At the shooting guard position, look, he's a decent all-around card. I just don't think he's to the level of Herb Jones, though. And that's the tough part. It's like, I think Herb Jones and dang near Alex Caruso got to go A tier, and Chris Morris has to go B tier. I think that's what I've got to do right now. Cliff Robinson up next. Cliff Robinson's A tier. He's A tier. As far as season 2 rewards, there weren't too many of them that I was super excited about. Cliff Robinson was one of the cards that I was like, dang, this card can compete defensively at a really high level, and he can also knock down shots. Cliff Robinson, as far as a complete card in my team, is really solid. Dennis Johnson up next. I mean, look. A lot of people got excited about Dennis Johnson, and I'm not saying the card's horrible, has a decent release, gonna compete defensively, maybe A tier, but some people when Dennis Johnson came out really hyped the card up beyond belief. Franz Wagner up next, easy addition into S tier, and while we're at it, wherever Jalen Suggs is, I'm dragging him into S tier as well. You can't have one without the other. I mean, you can, because they're both good by themselves. But if you run Suggs and Franz Wagner together, they're the best two budget cards, best 2 rubies in the entire game, and it's not particularly close. I mean, they should be in a tier of them, their own, like the GOAT tier, because even them compared to like a Brandon Miller or Mitchell Robinson by themselves, it's not even close. Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner are absolutely elite. Gerald Wallace up next. I actually don't hate Gerald Wallace. I think as an overall card, he's fine. I think B tier is where he belongs, though, because if you're asking me Gerald Wallace or Herb Jones, I don't even think it's close. I'm taking Herb Jones every day of the week. Ruby Giannis up next. I mean, B tier, isn't he? He's not horrible because he's Giannis Antetokounmpo, and for Giannis to be horrible, he has to be really, really, really bad. But he's just not great, is he? I mean, he plays some defense, he has good height, but when you're looking at the overall card, I just think I can't go any higher than B tier. Grant Williams up next. Grant Williams isn't horrible at all. The problem is he's just undersized. If you look at Grant Williams' stats, if you look at his badges, you'll actually probably be pretty impressed. The problem comes with Grant Williams when you look at him on that just defensive end of the court because he's just undersized. I think that's really all it comes down to for Grant Williams. Jalen Williams up next. Until they change something with Jalen Williams Sigs, I can't like the card. His release isn't good. I know stat badge wise he might be fine, but I cannot hype up Jalen Williams. Joel Embiid D tier. I can't hype up Joel Embiid. Like I could hype up Giannis because he's Giannis Antetokounmpo. I cannot hype up Joel Embiid. I feel like Giannis always plays way better than his stats badges suggest. I mean, Joel Embiid's still a decent enough stretch big. I guess I'll put him at C tier, but I really don't love the card. Jordan Hawkins up next. He's not horrible, but he's not great. I'd go in between B tier and C tier. I'm going to lean C tier just because I feel like nobody's running this card. And I think, you know, for me, I've played against him a couple of times. I think I've used him once. I just don't necessarily see it with the card. That's not me saying you can't use him and have success with him. It's just me saying I personally don't really see it in the card. Kevin Durant up next. I'm going to go D tier with KD. I mean, look, I just don't love him as far as his stats, badges, animations. I feel like KD this year's release is not great, and that's where it all starts. You can't have a Kevin Durant with a mediocre release and expect the card to be good. He's got a bad release, and I can't hype the card up. LeBron James up next. I guess I'll put him at B tier. I can't, though. I can't put him at, and I can't put Giannis at B tier either. I'm going to move them both down to C tier. If I was to move anybody up, it'd be a guy like Tobias Harris, who I will. I like Tobias's release. I guess I'll move him up A tier because I feel like he's more deserving than LeBron, than Giannis, or even a Joel Embiid. Nicholas Claxton up next, and I'm going to go S tier with Nicholas Claxton. I do like Mitchell Robinson more than Claxton. I need to make that known, but I think both those cards are deserving of S tier. If you want to play Claxton at that power forward position alongside Mitchell Robinson, that is something I would encourage you guys to at least try out if you do want to run the 2 cards. Both budget options. Mitchell Robinson's cheaper, so maybe I have like the cheaper card biased in my opinion, but both those cards absolutely fantastic. PJ Tucker, talk about fantastic. He is fantastic as well. Can play the small forward position, has a super quick, super easy to time, easy to green release, and he is going to play decent defense. Card's not perfect. Wish his speed was a little bit higher, but I am a fan of PJ Tucker in my team. Rui Hachimura without the duo, I don't care. He's S tier. If you know what Rui gives you, you know. His release, absolutely fantastic. Has one of the best overall releases in the entire game. Gonna play good defense, has a good player. I don't love Steph Curry, but if you're trying to get through triple threat offline games as quickly as possible, there's not many better options than Steph Curry. There's just not. And I think for guys that are just starting 2K, a lot of guys ask me, Ty, what is the best thing for me to do if I'm just starting the game, just picked up the game? You know, I'll say grind triple threat offline. Type in the locker code, grind triple threat offline, and guess what? You're going to get enough fireworks relatively quickly, and if you lock in for that 25,000 MT, which I would definitely recommend saving up for, you know, whether you're nobody spent, no matter what you are, you're gonna notice your MT skyrocket, and Steph Curry will be a big part of that. Tari Eason up next. I actually am a fan of Tari Eason. I'm gonna put him at A tier as well. Compare his stats, badges, animations to other people's. Tari Eason can definitely hoop in my team. Tim Thomas, not a fan of him. It all starts and ends with that release. LaMelo Ball base. I think he's good on current gen, but if you look at the card on next gen, he's not good. Same reason LaMelo Ball is not good. Their releases just are not good, in my opinion. Udonis Haslem, I'm going F tier. Card can't shoot. If you're using Udonis Haslem, I feel really badly for you. E. Jillian up next. I'm gonna put E at B tier. I feel like Cliff Robinson's better than the card, but E. Jillian still can play. Knocks down shots, 7 feet tall, can do a lot for you on the court. I just wish defensively he had a little bit more going for him. Yes, we did a rapid fire Ruby tier list today. There just isn't a whole ton of talent. That's gonna wrap it up for our tier list. Let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments, guys. Drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and as always, man, I love you guys, and have a blessed day.